So I just started the recording. So okay, we can proceed with whatever we want to speak about.
Okay. There's no need for me to record, no?
I don't think so. It's okay. I'm recording it anyways. I can send it to you on mail.
After finishing the overall the recording, just put it on a drive.
I'll put it on this group only. No, it will anyways remain as a.
We can do that as well. See, and overthinking.
It's okay. We have not used Telegram for some time, so maybe that's why.
Okay, we'll start.
So let's first start with introducing ourselves if we can.
Yeah.
So let's go with Julian.
Yeah, first.
Julian, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Welcome to podcast. I am joined with two of my friends, Sourabh and Nagraj. Narendra, oh sorry. Narendra is, and Saurabh is a common friend between me and Narendra.
Nagraj is another friend, so he messed it up a little.
Nagraj is another. So we thought of having a podcast on the topic of subcontinental sports, and so we are all sports aficionados, and so we just like talking about sports and our personal likes, dislikes, and about the sporting ecosystem in India. So, hi Saurabh, hi Narendra.
Yeah, hi.
Let's start with say, for example, the history of sport in subcontinent. Like for example, in old times, the kings used to patronize sports like martial sports like horse riding, archery, and wrestling, and all these things, especially in India. And because of the patronage of these kings and rulers and all, we have got a rich history of surrounding these martial sports. So, what have you to say about this? Even in our home state of Karnataka, where in the Mysore Maharaja, he conducts annual sports festivals and all that. And what are your thoughts about our heritage of sports?
Yeah. We have our own indigenous sports actually, but none of it actually, only very few or none of it go to Olympics. But we have our own way of, having sports. For example, Kabaddi is one of our origin.
Kabaddi.
And also, Kabaddi.
Okay.
And we have other kind of sports, horse riding. Horse riding in the sense chariot riding. Okay. And what all sports are there? There are many sports, but as far as I know, we didn't take it in modern way. We just left it like that. And even now also, we play.
We have not continued to encourage and foster this.
There is no continuity, and also we don't encourage. Our mental mindset itself is like sports. What is the benefit of it? We consider it as like a materialistic thing. If we are able to earn something, right, then we'll be thinking, okay, then it is good. Otherwise, there is of no use, we consider actually.
See, basically, when we speak about sports, let's not limit sports to only outdoor activities. Sports is something that can be played indoors as well. If I have to say about games like table tennis or badminton, so if I have to speak about an indoor sports which is similar, which if I can say wasn't sports in its very essence as such, but it was symbolic of actual sports, if I may say so. There is something called chaturanga, which is nothing but the primitive version of chess that actually originated in India, which goes back to centuries ago, maybe during the Gupta dynasty or even before that. Even the Hadappans could have been very well versed with some outdoor sports, owing to their very advanced civilizational status of those times. So chess mostly goes back to the Gupta dynasty period of 280 current era, which started in 280 current era to up till maybe the 6th century current AD. Uh, Chaturanga was basically the predecessor of chess. It was like mostly split into four elements, each representing one division of your, what I would say, armed forces, the military basically. That included the infantry, cavalry, elephants, and chariotry. So it basically became very popular as a form of sports because initially it wasn't played indoors. The king made people, his own soldiers, to assemble in his courtyard, which was drawn up for with those cubicle boxes that you have today on the chest with white and uh, black boxes adjacent to each other, and he actually sat with his opponent right to his uh, he opposite to where he was sitting, and he actually moved his pawns, the soldiers, who were dressed like camels and who were dressed like horses. Maybe I have seen one of these scenes play out in some documentary that I was watching on YouTube some time back. So that actually translated eventually throughout years into chess, that made its way to Persia, and it's obviously very popular even today. Now that the Russians and different people from the West have taken over it,
Okay,
though
it's like a chess.
yeah, and besides chess, if I have to speak about, there is something that is which that holds a lot of popularity even today's times. What we call kushti or pehelwani, which is wrestling.
Yes,
So this started in the
yes.
Mughal period. It was also referred as Malla Yuddha. It became a kind of a
Uh,
spiritual practice,
if
right?
Excuse me if I interrupt, even in Mahabharata also we have Bhima's
Yeah, 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 yeah.
this thing, right? So at least
Yeah.
we have some kind of stories,
Basically,
even though.
it's
So
mentioned in the mythologies. Yeah, definitely, definitely.
yeah, so that itself tells that there is some kind of game like that, because these books are very old, right? Even though it is true or false, that is something we have to put it aside. But it is mentioned like
It's definitely
2000
mentioned, and
years
it's
ago.
been part of our entire history. No doubts in that.
Hmm.
So, what I would classify as some of the sports that we had in our from age old times, they blossomed because of the king's patronage, and some of the other sports they evolved just among the common folk.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Hmm.
because
Archery was
some
one of
sports are
them.
For fun, for fun.
martial sports, huh? Like say
Archery,
for example the
archery. I
soldiers,
guess we are missing out on archery as well.
yeah, archery, wrestling, horse riding. All these are like you would associate them with the soldiers and the military class.
Yeah.
And I would like to go to another form of sport exhibition, like what evolved to the circus, to the performing sports.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for
Uh,
example,
Acrobatics.
gymnasts, acrobatics, tightrope walking, balancing, then fire eating, and all performing. Like, for example, for spectacle, like it would be like to perform extraordinary feats and all. You would have a strong man or a gymnast, kind of a gymnast who would perform like contortionist or something like that way. So other than these martial sports, then there are these performing sports. Like people would for display purposes and for busking. Like artists would perform in street corners, and people would like support them by giving them some money and all for their performance. So, would you want to say anything on these kind of sports that were primarily performance, like among the common folk in the street corners or something like that way? Their genesis.
Well, if I would talk about the common folks, hunting definitely was part of their, if not sporting activity. They did find sporting, they did find hunting quite of an adventure, and it very much was a part of their sports activities, if not for food. So basically, they did kill animals and displayed their kill as their trophy. So this
Okay.
is not only limited to the medieval or ancient times, but this has been, I would say, part of our prehistoric times as well. Man as a being was very much curious to explore, and he couldn't settle down in one place, right? So it took him to different places, and he always competed with the wild animals for the common resources that were available, because that is how prehistoric times were. And eventually hunting evolved as a sporting activity, which obviously couldn't be part of the mainstream sports activities of today, as it goes against the very ethics of sports, where it involves a lot of killing and bloodshed. So yeah, that is definitely, which is something even seen with the tribal people today. Tribal people have their festivals, annual festivals, wherein they are involved in hunting, and they compete with each other to bring back kill that is more dangerous or more deadlier or heavier. So these activities even go on today, though illegally, but it has definitely been part of the common folks, as you were asking. So eventually, if you talk about hunting, you basically hunted animals with a bow and arrow. So definitely archery was involved as a skill. And if you go back to Indian mythology, we have so many people who won their brides in a swayamvara, as they would say, wherein they were competing against each other, which was again a part of sports, wherein the best archer would win over the bride, and that is how Arjuna won over Draupadi, right?
Okay.
So it is definitely part of a folklore and mythology. uh, it's a it's quite obvious that even archery has survived today and is part of the Olympics, and all those international tournaments that are held across. But the sad part is India doesn't do that well in not only archery, of course, but in most of the sports activities or sports competitions or tournaments internationally. India has performed very poorly. Cricket, obviously, being the big exception to this list. So there are a lot of reasons, I would say, that why India fares so poorly with different sports.
Saurabh,
Yeah, yeah.
Saurabh, just a minute. We'll progress towards that like down the line. Just
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
we'll
yeah, I was basically talking
Yeah,
about archery and hunting as like popular with the common folks or tribal people, I would say.
okay. Now
yeah.
I would like
I'll,
to. Okay, you are.
I will be speaking. Just I have a few doubts as well. First thing, what defines sports? For example, just before we talked about strategical games like chess, and we have
Abstract.
talked about folklore or something related to food gathering and so on, like archery or hunting. So it's a broad definition. So that one we have to address that one. And next thing, uh, evolution of sports. Just before we were talking about archery, right?
Yeah.
This archery evolved into something like shooting. See, previously we were not having this guns and whatever it is, rifles, right? So previously we were not having, and this is focus based, right? The overall archery is focus based, and similarly shooting as well. So evolution based on the technology as well. The evolution of sports and new games are being invented. There are also some other. What is that famous one? You have a small. What is that? In hand, you just throw it like that on board.
Discuss.
Not discus. You have a circles,
shot?
concentric circles.
What shot?
Short
Discuss.
put, short put.
No. I'm talking about board game. You have a board on the wall.
That's
That game.
darts.
Darts. Yeah. So these things are there, but shooting came later on, after the invention of our guns and so on. So what I'm trying to tell is technology also plays an important role in making new games.
See, I would like
Yeah,
to add to
that's my
this.
point.
I would like to add to this. See, you were saying that it kind of translated into shooting, and technology played a big role in sports, and sports as such was part of lives of people back then, as much as they would uh, like to do different activities, but even sports played a big role in their personality development. Sports was very much a part of their day-to-day life because there was very little to do. They weren't TV sets or mobile games like PUBG to engage with and keep yourself busy. So it kind of evolved with your personality development as well. You would compete with each other, and if you came out with flying colors in some XYZ sports, you were obviously accorded a certain higher uh, respect or higher, what do you say?
And
Yeah.
I got it. And there is one I want to ask a question. See, what is the difference between game and sports? Because chess, we can call it as a game, not as a sport. As far as I know, because like we have the online games, we have the mental. Games are mostly based on mental kind of thing. I think even cricket, it is called game. We can call it whatever the sports are there, they are in a part of games, but sports are not everything as far as I know. I can whatever I understand, is it?
I feel I I think the distinction is not that clear. But when you refer to game, I feel you refer more to something that is pleasurable. Even sports are pleasurable for that matter, but they have more of a competition factor in them. Like you play a sport to win or to succeed. In a game, you might just play a game to entertain yourself. There's the competitive element is not that much as when it is in sports. When you say sports, for that matter.
Yeah, but as far as I know, chess can't be called as a sport because people call it as a game, right? Whatever I hear,
Abstract strategy
it's more
game.
about mental faculties, how strong yours is, and how are you able to think. So it is more about the intellectual capacity, right?
Yeah.
It's not about the physical capacity.
Yeah.
So that one we have to, I think, once check it. What is the difference between sports and games? Yeah,
Basically,
Saurabh.
game is something which you do for pleasure, if I'm not wrong, and sports is something which you do for competition. Yes, there is very subtle difference in both the definitions of those words, but this is what I personally think, that game is something which you do for pleasure, and there are certain set of rules that are supposed to be followed, and yeah, even sports has rules to follow, but broadly, if I have to compare both of them, I would say game is something you do for pleasure and sports is something you do for competing with each other. That is all I can say about it. I don't know if there is actually
Even
any
even
difference
in
between them.
normal even in normal language, when we use game on, we call it game on. We never call it sports on. When we are competing, for example, even if it is studies, right, we call it game on, not sports on.
So you're saying game is more
So
of competing and sports is not.
even that is competing somewhat.
I
Whatever
don't think
I
there is
think.
any stark difference or very highlighting difference between the definitions of these two words. Uh,
Hmm.
so I guess we can
Yeah,
move on with the.
yeah, we can move.
So basically, why
Next.
is so? If I have to ask you a question, India has a rich tradition of everything. As Shashi Tharoor would say, he puts it very succinctly in his words, thanks to his extraordinary skills of language. Uh, he says that India is not an underdeveloped country as many would love to say. He says that India is a very highly advanced civilization. Rather, India was a very highly advanced civilization that is into its decay now. You see, we as a civilization are into our decay after having achieved lots of riches and lots of high achievements throughout our history. So definitely, sports may have been a very major part of our lives back then as well. So instead of having such great traditions in sports, we did continue it with a few sports that we may have won gold medals at the Olympics. But over the time, we have found that India has fared very poorly in sports, which has obviously got a lot of reasons to it, being primarily being the socio-economic reasons, and
Okay, sir. Just hold the thought 1 minute.
okay,
We'll let's progress towards what are the objectives of sport and what teaches us. Then we'll go to uh, the pressures sportsmen
cool,
face,
cool,
and
cool,
then the Indian mentality
cool, cool,
towards
cool.
it, and
I'm fine
and
with
then
it.
what can be done to address this.
I'm
So we'll go step by step.
yeah, yeah.
So,
You
so let us see now. In general, when you take up sports, a sportsman chooses a sport. What does it teach him, or what does what are the qualities to succeed? And as you practice sport, what qualities you imbibe in yourself?
see the two
So,
top.
as you say, sports is part of education.
Yeah, yeah.
So, to leave the academics aside, we'll see what sports teaches us and what qualities it helps us acquire.
As someone who's been
Uh,
part of team sports throughout my schooling and college days, two things that I learned basically, which completely stand out against all other things that I've learned from sports, I would put them as discipline and team spirit. Teamwork. Basically, the amount of efforts you put, in practicing for your actual games makes you disciplined towards your day-to-day life, because if you have to go and play sports not just for just pleasure's sake, but you're competing, participating in a competitive tournament, you definitely have to put in a lot of efforts, which actually pushes you to perform and push beyond your normal potential. So that kind of gives you a little bit of you know learnings in how to have a disciplined approach towards it. And apart from that, as we know that being part of a team uh, helps us not to limit our learning to ourselves, but at the same time it also allows us to share our learning with everyone else in the team, and also receive back whatever learning they have as our teammates. So it imbibes uh, a feeling of belonging and a feeling of oneness that is not so normal or easy when you do something like normal studies during your classes, or like yes, definitely project works which involve teams helps you to learn teamwork, but nothing comes closer to sports when it is about teamwork and team spirit, and the feeling of unity, and how you as a one team could perform better. So that is something which I have learned personally. I would like to listen from you both.
Yeah. Uh, we can divide sports into two categories. First, individual sports, and then we can also make it a team sports. So, in team sports, we have the coordination. For example, the understanding between the team members. So that is really important in any, for example, even in startups or in any company. So that kind of understanding, it comes through sports as well. And we have the socialization, brotherhood, or sisterhood, whatever we call it. We have that kind of socialization skills. I mean, we can get through that. I mean, it's fun, whatever we are doing like that. And then there is one important thing, activity. Uh, when you are playing, right? When you're playing, you get the physical activity, and you also your health is also improved. So this is one thing. Uh, One, we have the mental health as well as physical health, and these both will improve. The confidence, whatever we have, right, it improves automatically, and we can do. I mean, it flows. It reflects in other activities as well. Not only in sports. Once you start playing, right, it reflects in your other daily activities. So that much I can talk about.
some thoughts here. I thought about few qualities that you acquire as you play sports and you practice sports, like one grit, discipline, then you care for your body. Once you play sports, then you understand your body better, so you also care for your body better. Then sometimes one you also learn to accept defeat. You can't win all the time. Then you don't indulge in bad habits.
Yeah,
Then in group sports you have team building. You know your role in the team.
definitely.
Then
This
you
is
can
such a
perform, and you
lovely
know what you're good
thought.
at, what you're bad at, and in and then you know how to strategize. You know what your team's weaknesses are, and what how you will face the opponent, and how you will exploit their weaknesses and build on your strengths and play your game rather than play their game. And social skills, you need to communicate your ideas to the coach and the captain, and how to deal with pressure, all the fans in the stadium and all. Then pressure is mounting, the clock is winding down. How do you deal with all these things? These
Time
things you can't learn
management.
in a book. Yeah, you can't learn these things in a book. So physical education has to be a very indispensable part of education. The emphasis we
Basically,
are
life lessons. Basically, life
yeah
lessons.
the
Yeah.
emphasis that we are putting on physical education is not sufficient. As a country and a culture, we should put a lot of emphasis on this. Then how do you experiment with strategy? You might not always succeed with your strategy. How do you brainstorm, especially in abstract strategy games? Then execution of your strategy, then changing on the fly during the timeout or something like that, where you always brainstorm and search for new ideas and new strategies as a team, also as an individual. You will, when you face the opponent for the first time, you won't know what are their strengths and weaknesses. Then when you find out, when suppose you never faced a left-hander before, or a bowler, or in a racket sport, you will learn. Immediately you will have to implement what you learned. So these things cannot be taught in classroom. It has to be on the field only. You have to learn all these things. So any other qualities that sports can help children acquire? Any other than these?
So basically,
A
sports
basic.
involves a lot of physical activities, and it's been
Hmm.
proved scientifically that physical activities help you a lot in, you know, maximizing your learning procedure. Even it helps you in your studies. It's a quite a well-known fact that if you have a healthy body, and thanks to sports, obviously you end up having a healthy body, you'll have a healthy mind, and it kind of helps you focus on your studies as well, for kids and for children, and even throughout your life. If you're actively participating in sports, it will help you perform better in your office for your like professional jobs. So definitely this is one thing that I would say, that it helps your brain as well. It helps you grow mentally, grow intellectually, grow cognitively, is something that I would love to add to this.
Yeah, domino effect. There is domino effect as well, right? When we are uh, playing one sport, and also then other activities, daily activities,
It
whatever we are
pushes you to
doing,
perform
it
well.
reflects. Yeah, yeah. And also, just a minute. There is low charge in mine. I'll get my power bank. Yeah, speak.
Yeah. So
And second topic we were talking about, you have made a path, right? So one thing we talked about the sports, what is the purpose of sports and so on. So second topic we have to talk about
it's
India's.
no. Just wait.
In
We are missing out on a very important fact here. Going through such times of
Okay.
pandemic, and people dying of lack of immunity. Basically, sports helps you become more healthy, so that when such times come, you have a healthier heart, healthier lungs, healthier breathing process. So I've seen so many people who succumb to this virus that is hurting all of us. They mostly those people who had diabetes, or asthma, or all these chronic diseases that are mostly got to do with your lifestyle. Asthma may not be one of them, but definitely diabetes is one of those diseases that is directly or indirectly a result of your lifestyle choices. So had you been part of your sports curriculum or even playing any sports for that matter throughout your school days or college days or even now, even running is part of sports. If you just go for a morning jog, it will definitely help you stay healthier. So staying healthier has so many, as you said, domino effect, domino impacts, I would say. Keeping yourself involved in sports also helps you stay healthy. And by staying healthy in a country where we end up spending 62 to 70% of out of pocket expenditure annually towards medicine and hospital bills, sports and sports like activities will definitely help you save money by keeping yourself healthy and avoiding those uh, visits to
Yeah,
a local
preventive
doctor.
measures.
So this is one of the very good factors that people don't normally recognize as to how sports will help you stay healthy and put up a strong defense, especially during such times when a virus is killing those who are uh, who don't have as who are not as immune or as healthier or as stronger as anyone else who is involved in sports or exercise activities could be. So this is something that I would like to add.
And and also we forgot one major thing, yoga. It has also got a physical and mental benefits.
Yeah.
So we didn't talk about that as well. So that
Yeah,
is that is one important thing.
actually, I'd written it down, but I forgot.
Cause
In the
see,
yeah, there are. I was concentrating on the kings and the circus, and I forgot about the mystics
hmm,
and the martial arts, the
hmm.
kung fu, judo, aikido, karate,
Yeah,
They are
yeah,
just
yeah,
an
yeah, yeah.
extension
yoga,
of yoga,
and
right? Do you agree with me? Martial
what?
I
arts,
mean, fighting. No,
martial arts
Yeah,
those
is
are
just
fighting techniques.
that's what I'm saying.
and
Martial arts is somewhat an extension of yoga, I would say, because it helps you. They have these techniques that help you to learn the right kind of breathing process that helps you focus and acquire this strength and you know s- at times superhuman strength. I've seen videos of people from Shaolin school of martial
Yeah, yeah.
arts. They have been they're exposed to such amount of what do you say uh,
Actually,
pressures,
it
mental
catalyzes
pressures
whatever
and
we are
physical
playing.
pressures that they just come out so stronger. It's really even difficult to break them or just do any harm to them physically because it's nearly impossible to do that. So it somehow comes. See here, I don't know if you are aware of this thing that Shaolin School of Soccer. Sorry, so Shaolin School of Martial Arts was started by a person named Bodhidharma who traveled all the way from South India to China, is what the popular folklore goes like, and then he was a yogi himself who eventually went on to start the school of martial arts. So if you were to
Bro,
ask
bro,
me,
if I just a minute, I'll interrupt this thing. This part we will discuss when we talk about the pressure part. I think.
no, I'm
Can
just
we?
saying that
what?
martial arts is
Please
I
repeat.
mean,
Pardon me.
the sports are there, right? Now we face a lot of pressure in cricket or any
Yes,
other
yes,
game.
yes, yes, yes. We'll
So,
talk about that.
how to control that through yoga or some kind of meditation? Then we can discuss about that. That way, I'm feeling.
okay, okay.
And I
Okay,
wanted to
not a
add
problem.
one
Then
more.
continue.
I wanted to add one more thing about the history of sport. You know about uh, the history of the marathon. No, the Phidippides ran from one.
Yeah, the Greece one.
Yeah, so he
Yeah,
ran to give the
the
news of
marathon
the
city.
yeah, he ran to give the news of the battle won or lost. I'm not sure, but that's how the marathon started. Na, in his memory also.
Yeah, I remember. It is not Peloponnesian, I think. It is some kind of war. I can't remember. But in ancient Greece, he ran from one place to, I mean, Athens to Marathon, I think.
In
Is it?
fact, yeah, something like that way. but in fact, all like the culture of some of the other good, colorful history surrounding sports. And I'm sure even if we have to comb through our history, we'll also find many illustrations, similar illustrations. But they're not well documented and they're not cherished. What I feel,
The history of marathon.
The Indian psyche, it doesn't give sports its due. A film star is much more admired than a sports person. That's the tragedy in India.
Yeah, basically he does acting. Yeah, we can appreciate the for his acting, but we can't just personally admire what he's. I mean, we assume that film, whatever he's doing, right, the character, we assume that that is his personality. I mean, that is really ridiculous.
What I'll give you an example. Okay, a very famous movie was made on wrestling, and then the hero or heroine who plays the main character in the movie, everyone pays money and goes and watches the movie. And when the real life heroine and the sports person wins laurels, they identify her as the character from the movie. Oh, you're the person whom the movie. You're the person the movie is made on. It should be the other way around.
And even the actress or actor who plays the wrestler doesn't even look like a wrestler in the movie.
The only person I can assume contrary to that is MS Dhoni. I mean, after we knowing MS Dhoni, it became a movie. Then we were like, okay, MS Dhoni ka movie hai.
The only exception is cricket. For that matter. People, and I hate. I am the exception here among us three. I hate cricket because I feel most of the time it's just the fast bowler who's doing any physical activity. There is and maybe the batsmen who run from time to time.
I would like to differ on this a little bit, Julian. See, what you're talking about is definitely what we used to get as cricket a few years back when Sourabh Ganguly was the captain of our Indian team, and all those players throughout his times and times preceding his were those kind of players who played that kind of a cricket. But if you look at cricket that has evolved over the last few years, maybe last 10 years, especially under MS Dhoni and after the after IPL started, there has been a big change in the approach towards playing cricket. Cricketers have gone through extreme limits training themselves, as if not as good as footballers. They have become very athletic towards the amount of fielding standards and the amount of
May I put one point?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
See, I just want to point out, people should stop comparing games. See, I'll tell you one example. Football, those people run like miles by the time they complete the 90 minutes. Mm-hmm. Okay? So now, if we put this, whatever the norm it is there, running in football, we put it into the cricket, right? Now we see these people are lazy. What we compare it with that, right? Then it will become lazy. Cricketers are lazy. Instead of that, if you take one sport as one inclusive, one one tree kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So then you will understand the sport's essence itself. For example, in cricket, we have different strategy. It's not about running or something. It's about mental as well.
Extreme
and also the ball which comes where.
Stress.
The ball, if Shoaib Akhtar.
I love Test cricket more than I love. I love Test cricket.
Yeah, we are all Test cricket fans here. Don't worry.
That is good. Yeah, if 145 kilometers, 150 kilometers ball, if it bounces like anything, and if it comes to his face and it misses, and it goes onto his head. He dies. So that is that kind of danger as well, right?
Phil Hughes lost his life to a bouncer, right?
Yeah. And when you see the we shouldn't compare the sports. That is the only thing I'm trying to tell.
See, I am
Because when we
okay. See,
compare,
listen.
right, those norms.
I am even okay comparing sports. See, if I have to compare 5 days test match to a football match, see, if I have to compare, if I'll first of all compare the time duration. A football match is played for what, 90 minutes if I'm not wrong? And test match
Just a minute. I just
120.
want to clarify one thing. I'm not talking about subjective comparison. I'm talking about objective comparison. We can do objective comparison in the sense time or some kind of a related dressing style, whatever it is. That we can do. But subjective way, that is wrong. I'm telling.
No,
That's
no,
it.
no.
Okay, you can carry on.
See, I would come down to subjective comparison itself. I'm just talking about the amount of mental pressures test cricketers have to undergo, especially when, see, football, in a game of football, the conditions hardly matter. Yes, the crowds may be in your favor or against your favor, but the actual conditions on the ground never play a big role for the players. The turf is the same, the shoes are the same, the ball is the same, and all you have to do is hit it. Yes, it definitely involves extreme amount of physical stress and physical training to perform at such uh, what do you say, such levels.
But
Are you getting my point? Hello.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
So it indeed involves a lot of stress and physical pain and physical efforts to do well at such games. But just imagine the amount of uh, role the local conditions or the ground conditions during a test cricket match play. Every day with every session the conditions change, and those local conditions impact your game. If it's a cloudy morning, the ball will do a lot and will swing both the ways, making life difficult for the batsman. And if you're a batsman from the subcontinent playing in conditions like the English conditions or Australian conditions or the South African conditions, life will be very difficult for you then. So what I'm trying to say is, if I am doing an objective comparison or a subjective comparison, if you say, cricket is the only game where the conditions, local conditions of the ground, of the turf, of the pitch, play a very big role towards your performance. And depending upon where you're playing the match geographically, the conditions keep changing, and they don't even change just for one test match or the entire tournament. Every session, every 3 hours, these conditions keep on changing, which is definitely not a case with any other sports. If I would like to compare, football doesn't have it, tennis doesn't have it, only the crowds play a big role, if you have to ask me. So the amount of mental pressure and mental preparation that goes through to become a test cricketer compared is not comparable to any other part of sports, is what I'm trying to say. If you compare the last border
no,
Gavaskar trophy
no.
that we won
Well,
in.
I don't agree completely because in tennis, the wind and the roof and the humidity
But it's
that
same for
change
both the players, right? The conditions are same,
for
the
tennis
impact
also,
equally
and
both of them.
even football, and
See,
the,
yeah, that is okay. These things are subjective. That's what I'm telling. See, one thing I just want to tell: some games have different rates. Some games are having different rates. For example, I'll tell you. See, if it is Test cricket, you need endurance, patience. Okay,
Yes.
but when it comes to the T20, you don't need endurance and patience. I mean, patience is required, obviously, but endurance is not there. There, it should be fast hitting.
Yes.
Similarly, in football also, it should be very fast paced. But when it comes to Test cricket, it's not fast paced. So, cricket is something like marathon, but sprinting is something like football. Like that, we can compare. Yeah, something like that.
no, I'll just say one thing and I'll end with this. Actually, if the population of Mumbai is more than that of Australia, no, if I'm not mistaken.
Very easily.
Yeah, more than.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no? So
Australia is 3 crore.
yeah, the day Mumbai rugby team beats Australian rugby team, I'll have more respect for Indian cricket, Indian sports, because cricket is not even the number one sport in Australia, and the Australian cricket team, people in Australia don't even care about cricket, and the Australian cricket team, despite having very less fan following, is able to win so many World Cups, beating a cricket team. Means they've beaten us so many times, which one city of India has more population, and people are crazy about cricket in India. It's like if Mumbai beats Australia, okay, then I think okay, fine, they have done something, because then it barabar ka takkar hua is.
So it all
I
comes
totally
down to
agree.
again, the kind of society that we live in India cannot be compared to any of those societies
Yeah.
in the world. So it's a very
It
difficult
is
one more
actually,
thing to do. But
it
yes,
gives a
point
little bit
point
of
taken,
hint
point
to
taken.
what kind of a
Obviously,
people we are. We were, see, if 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 cricket is more about the bowler than it's about the batsman, and there is no camera which is on focusing on the bowler. If
I
I
would
was
I
immense
would
in
agree
charge, I
with
would have
that.
focused.
See.
For
Just a
I
minute.
would have
it is for
I would have focused the
T20.
camera on the bowler's run up. Imagine how you will sell more TV whatever ratings or something if you have a fast bowler running and you focus on his. It will be like a cheetah running or something
The
like that. Where
expressions are priceless,
you will inspire
indeed.
all the new kids to become fast bowlers. Like
Why only
Kapil Dev,
fast
he was
bowlers?
one
If
of
you
our.
would just focus on Muthaiya Muralitharan's face, oh my god, the kind of
Yeah,
expressions he used to
we are
give.
completely biased towards the batsman because
I
we
agree
Yeah.
on
want
this.
to. That's a fault in our psyche. Even in football, everyone wants to follow the centre forward. No one wants to follow the rear guard and the sweeper and all that because they do that dirty work. So people are always glamorous. They're hero worshipping. That is wrong. That gives an idea of the fan following and it's an indication of a person as what kind of person you are. Like who's your heroes? Like I would any day hero worship Kapil Dev because he in the mecca of cricket beat the best team ever to assemble, the West Indian cricket team, and he beat them not by the bat but by the ball. Oh, that was amazing. This nothing can come close to that.
Yeah. And one thing just want to point out. See, the Western sports, whatever it is there, for example, UK or Australia, the same crowd will address the rugby union, and also they go for cricket, they go for Australian football, and they also
Yeah.
go for other sports, tennis, basketball, baseball. All this same crowd will go. Okay,
Yeah.
in our area, right? We just idealize one player from whichever the sport is, and we just idealize that cricket thing is the only thing which is left for our whatever
It's very sad.
crowd it is.
Fortunately,
Yeah.
We are
Kabaddi
all
has been doing well because they came out with the Kabaddi League on the lines of IPL. So
yeah,
at least for the
Yeah.
what do you say, glamour part and the kind of extravaganza that has been added as a selling point for Kabaddi, it is doing well. I never watched Kabaddi, so I may have been a little biased against it because I never liked watching Kabaddi. But my younger brother, who also plays cricket, is a very big fan of that Kabaddi league, Kabaddi
I
program.
played at school level.
I never played kabaddi. So I played kho though, but not at school level, like just local level in like. So I never played kabaddi. I don't know
So,
why.
so this is the Indian mentality of around sport. We are a very visual dominant population.
And we have not
We,
even touched
we
upon hockey, man. Like, come on, seriously.
yeah.
How can we see the kind of bias that we have towards
I'll tell you,
cricket?
I have a
60% of our
theory to
discussion
this.
is revolving around cricket.
I have a theory to this.
Hmm.
I have a theory. Just let me give me some time. Cricket. Why cricket? The batsman is at the crease, and it's very easy for the what do you call the videography of the sport to focus on the batsman and focus him, keep him in frame and focus. So you can telecast this sport very easily. Whereas in say for example something like kabaddi or hockey or something, you have to follow the ball, and it takes the I think the commercial setup to broadcast this kind of sport is more expensive, and the break-even factor is not there in this. You need that many subscribers, and also these sports are very difficult to market.
But
So
then ice
India
hockey
is
has been doing quite well in the western part of the world, right?
which what are you saying?
Ice hockey is doing quite well in the western side.
Uh, yeah, they have broken that barrier. They have hit critical mass. So their fan following is sustaining them. Now we have to now after that movie, everyone started playing hockey and all. Then the entire ecosystem has to evolve. Like people have to buy shoes, they have to buy hockey sticks, they have to buy the kit, then they have to buy the net, they have to have ground staff. All these things to uh, overnight to change is very difficult. So that whole sporting culture has to evolve in our country. It in
And
foreign countries are like Narendra was saying, the Australian crowd will go to each and every national team game, but here we will only go for cricket. We won't spend for any other game. So that's the
yeah.
we need we like how our football team is getting support now, and now the I League and the Super League is
I
evolving.
guess it's also got to do the fact to it. It's got to do with this fact that cricket is something that has won you so many accolades for India. Unlike other games, see, hockey was quite popular in those days when people were winning gold medals for us in Olympics. If you look at a few movies that Hindi film industry has produced over the times, you would find in old movies that children are showed playing hockey, and suddenly after 1983 the scene changes and people are shown playing cricket. So I guess it has also got to do with the glory or the victories that you win for your country through a particular sports, and that is exactly what has happened to cricket. Cricket has somehow been able
Do you,
to win a lot of
And
glory for us, like hockey did
I
in those days.
one more thing, Sir,
Yeah, yeah.
do you think that if when we were winning all those hockey gold medals, if there was radio in everyone's house, the situation would be different in India now?
Hockey was
Because
quite
in
popular. My
1983 there must
dad
have been
owned a hockey stick during his childhood, and even my grandfather had a hockey
there
stick.
must
It was quite
there
popular,
must have been
Julian.
radio
Yeah, they had a radio. My
and
grandfather owned a radio.
and
He got it with a license back then. He had to get a license to buy a radio. So they did have a radio, and even if it wasn't for the radio, hockey was quite popular. Everyone knew Dhyan Chand, right? Dhyan Chand was quite a great super sporting hero for India for quite some time until cricket happened and we won the World Cup in '83. But before that, Dhyan Chand was quite the hero and quite the idol children wanted to emulate and wanted to become like. So hockey was quite a part of
we should
mainstream back then.
I want to put 2 points. I just want to put 2 points. One thing, when a person from one particular sport, he becomes famous, right? Then we directly adapt to that. For example, badminton, we have that Gopi Chand. So suddenly it became famous. And then many number of players started coming.
That is how it is. That
Similarly,
is how things work, right? If you bring
yeah,
glory to your country, people will start following you and want to become like you.
following it.
But
Yeah, and second,
the very reason we started performing poorly in other sports and cricket is somehow got to do with the energy levels that are required for these sports. During the early 20th century, the half of the world was colonized, and India had, including India, all other countries were British colonies. So barring a few western countries, most of us were not so good. We never got good amount of nutritions, or we never paid good attention to our health, so we couldn't be as strong as the western people,
yeah,
and it applied to
yeah.
everyone else.
And
So somehow we were able to win these sports. But as and when countries evolved, because World War I, 2 1 and 2 happened, people were left to literally die, and they also had a similar healthy health related conditions to those of India. So we were able to compete with them on a somewhat similar levels. So that's why we won. So but later on, when these same sports started required to put in more energy and required more strength and stamina and endurance, we obviously fell short, because our country, which literally begged to the US to import wheat during the 1960s could never afford to fill our stomachs in such a manner that we could produce strong, healthy, you know, sportsmen. So
Meals,
cricket
sports.
was one of those sports traditionally which never required that amount of energy levels to compete. So that is one of the
That's
And
true.
reasons
one
I think
one
put.
question I want to raise. One question I want to raise to you guys. The question is, if I mean, if you see the cricket, right? There are lots of gadgets, lots of tools we need to use, bats, bat, and everything.
It's a
So
rich
it is
man's sport.
difficult to access.
It's a rich
Yeah,
man's
if
sport.
it is, yeah, it is difficult to access. But football, you just need a ball, okay, and it is very easy to get it, and also people easily are. I mean, it is very easily available to play that sport. But why it is good in Africa,
I'll,
especially in Western
I'll say only
Africa?
one thing. I'll say only one thing: marketing. If you are able to market the sport and people are willing to pay to watch, then the
Hmm.
sport will take off. It has to have an ecosystem. It's not people don't play football, but no one watches football, and no one, like our own indigenous compared to big sports like cricket and all, very less people watch our own domestic league and all, except for Kerala and West Bengal and Goa. Or others, Heartland doesn't watch football. They don't relate with football unless someone comes and gives commentary in Hindi and explains the strategies and the games and how the ball is moving and who is winning and why they are winning, and it has to be like a chocolate bar. Everything has to be there in it. It's like has to be, nuts have to be there, chocolate has to be there, sweet has to be there. It has to be a complete product for the masses to consume. And once they consume, they start playing, and it feeds itself, and it becomes a self-sustaining loop.
I agree.
Because wrestling has such a robust ecosystem right from the villages to up to our national level. That's why people, you don't have to you put any money into it. People are already, they know akhada, kushti, and pailwan. It is there in the DNA of the village. It's the same thing we should other sports also. And injury prevention, all these things are very important. Access to nutrition, as Sourabh said, that is a must, because these sports, when you suppose you're playing for World Cup qualification against Germany or some of the more physical teams, you will embarrass yourselves. Until and unless we reach and result starts coming, then it's snowball. Then the snowball effect happens. And once that happens, then the game takes off, and then the small boys start wearing the jerseys of the center forward and the goalkeeper and all that. Then once that happens, then the game is in good hands.
The only
Yeah.
person I remember
So
as a popular swimmer from India was Veer Dhaval Khade, and he somehow managed to qualify for the Olympics, and he was quite a star back then for India. One of those very rare, and being one part of those rare instances wherein an Indian got to represent and swimming at the Olympics. And you know what was his position during the heats when he was supposed to qualify? He came last, and it was quite. He lost with quite a distance. Not to disrespect or take away anything from him for his efforts, but yes, somehow our energy levels cannot compete with those of other countries because the kind of food that we have been eating, it's not for us. Even if I eat today extraordinarily healthy food, it has somehow got to do with my genes. You see a lot of Jamaicans coming out and becoming superheroes due to their strong running prowess. An Usain Bolt or a Nasafa Powell belong to the Caribbean islands. They have something in their genes as well, is what I would like to say, which is something that
Yeah,
is lacking in Indian genes. So there'll
your
be.
lifestyle also depends how your genes express themselves. If you There are genes that will lay dormant if you don't uh, do something to make them
So
express
that is
themselves.
what
If
I'm
you
saying.
don't
For at
live.
least the last 400 years, the Indian gene that may have been involved in such sports or such activities definitely has been lying dormant for quite some time now, and it will take another few, maybe 100 years for us to compete at that level. And if you look at the
Yeah, yeah. I would agree that with that, because I would say Africa is very famous for football and they do very well. When it comes to United States and Japan, they do very badly. Even though they have overall technology and they have very good sportsmen as well. But I don't know why it is like that. That might be the genes case as well. Yeah.
but
It's there the market. This fan following is not there for soccer that much. They like American football, and Japanese are very good at gymnastics and all. But somehow soccer has not taken off there.
Yeah, even then also they have that access. They have the access to football and they have resources, right?
Funnily, women's soccer is very popular in US, and they are champions also. But the men's soccer team, they are not performing well.
Mm.
That's a what do you call, irony or conundrum? I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, there is one particular word. I can't remember that. I'll tell that. Yeah.
see, if you look at the kind of programs that China has been following for quite some time, and if you try and compare the Olympics records, maybe 20 years ago and the 2012 Olympics that happened in 2012, it was 2008, I suppose, that happened in Beijing, right?
Yeah.
So
2008.
the kind of difference they have had in their medals tally over the years speaks volumes of their the amount of
Hello.
approach they have had towards sports in the last 20 years, the change in the approach they have had. Because if you look at their official record at the 2000 Sydney Olympics, if I'm not wrong, they won very less amount of medals. I'm not sure what exactly the number is. I may have to go through it, but you look at the you look at the medals tally in 2008, 12, and the last Rio Olympics. They have had a huge, what do you say, difference over the medal tally as compared to 20 years ago, because they have started such uh, sporting training programs for their children starting at the age of 2 and 3 at times, which is somewhat got to do with their propaganda. They somehow believe if you are performing well at the sports international sporting events, you get a very strong boost for your soft power, as what used to happen during the peak of Cold War, wherein the USSR used to compete with USA at the Olympic levels, wherein we could see strong competition amongst them. At times, the USSR coming out as the highest uh, highest medal with highest medal tallies, and at
Tally.
times USA did the same. So it has now come down to, obviously, the USSR disintegrated and it came down to Russia, and obviously Russia has not been able to repeat that amount of performances in the successive Olympic competitions held afterwards. But China has achieved those levels in a very short amount of time. You know, so obviously it has got to do with their economic, what do you say, growth that has followed, in the last 20 years. But then, if you have to have such kind of programs in India, wherein you have to push your kids to join a completely out and out sports training curriculum, wherein only sports is that is concentrated and focused upon at the cost of your normal studies, it would be very difficult for a country like, for a poor country like, yes, I'm using the word poor for India, to afford those kind of, or even to think about such kind of programs to push your children at a very tender age of 3 to undergo to go through such programs. So it's gonna take a lot of time for us to perform well in all those sports, especially gymnastic. We had Deepa Kamkar, if I'm not wrong, last Olympics, who participated in the gymnastics, being the first Indian ever.
Gymnastics. Hmm. And
Actually, Australia also had a problem this way. They failed to win any medal or something like that way. Then they had a meeting and then they took action and then they performed very well after that. They implemented their policy. It was landmark change and sea change in Australian sports. Similar problem. You
and
saw old cricketers Graham Gooch and all Australians. They were quite stout and all, but nowadays they are fully fit.
Hmm. And one thing I also see is in China there are diversified sports, right? I mean, based on Olympics. So if one person doesn't win in one sport, they can win in other sport. So that is there. But when it comes to US, right, there are only few number of players winning all the medals. For example, Michael Phillips. Michael Phillips last time won around 7 medals just for US, gold medals. So I think he retired now, so I don't think they'll win next time swimming.
No,
So
there are many other swimmers.
yeah, there are many other swimmers, but this time there is one Singapore player. He came second at many of the games. So Singapore, South Africans. So there are many other people as well. As for even Chinese, last time Chinese won second in some games. So yeah, that way I can tell some within few years it can change. For example, China, just before you were talking, right? China also changed from some low number of medals to suddenly very high number of medals. So we can also do that, but our boards, whatever the politicization of sports that is happening, that is really sad.
I'm not sure if you have seen this movie called
We won't talk about that.
There's this movie called Mukkabaz, produced and directed by, I'm not sure if it's produced, yes, definitely directed by Anurag Kashyap, wherein they show that how the society of India, which is divided on the basis of caste, plays a big role in discrimination that is carried out in sports activities. If this movie talks about, or it shows us boxer, a promising boxer who wants to make his way and represent India at the international level. But the very reason that he belongs to a Rajput caste, which is not even a lower caste, uh, plays comes in as a hindrance towards his success, because his coach is a Brahmin coach. So obviously he is not a meat eater. He doesn't eat non-vegetarian food, but this guy is used to eating non-vegetarian food. So he somehow to impress, or to, what do you say, appease his coach, is going to his house, going to his home, and talking to him and doing all the work.
Saurabh,
Yeah.
Saurabh, you have mentioned the movie. If you tell them the story, then it will be a spoiler.
No, I'm not telling them the story. I'm just telling that how caste plays a big hindrance
Uh,
in to achieve his success, and that is what they have shown. That's it, that you can see in the trailer as well. And this is quite a reality. I was seeing a video the other day on Twitter of some rickshaw guy, or some, that you have those matador rickshaws wherein you transport goods from one place to another. He was a national level boxer who never made it to international level, thanks to the kind of society that we live in, which has such amount of discrimination towards people belonging to minorities and lower castes, mostly.
okay.
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, continuing on that point, let us transition into what are the solutions? Like, how as a society we can foster sports and increase the appetite for sports. And when we were in school, we had only 2 physical education periods for the entire week. Although physical education is, if not as important, if not more important than academics. And as a society, what steps we can take to solve this problem, like how China and Australia did, what we can do.
See, it's
So-
definitely going to take us a lot of time to match those levels of Australia, China, or the USA. But what works for India definitely would be that if you start giving marks that count, for sporting activities, somehow the parents would be encouraged or even pushed at times to make sure that the children are part of sporting activities and competitive sports. So that would definitely be a good change if, even the new education policy talks about it, I guess, if I'm not wrong, that sports should be given, sports and other extracurricular activities should be, placed at par, if not less, with the other academic curriculum that is part of your schooling process. So I would say that if your sporting activities are given, can fetch you a few extra marks or are given equal importance in your report cards at the end of your academic year, that would definitely encourage the students and their parents to, push their children and make them participate in sporting activities. This can definitely be one of those uh, approaches to do, and if one of them performs very good by participating in sports, the sports teacher or the coach involved in the process can definitely what do you say,
Bro,
encourage
I
him.
have a point. I have a point. Actually, in our plus one, plus two, we have the sports ka marks, kuch, 20 marks like that. What these people did, our teachers,
Mm-hmm.
they were like, you won't earn anything through sports. You'll already earn or learn something through the theoretical studies and so on, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So what they did is, sports ka we'll give some marks, 18 to 19, sometimes 20, like that, without even playing, without even doing anything. Okay, and even practicals we have around 20 marks for chemistry, physics. Okay, even that also we didn't do. Okay, only theoretical by hatting, whatever the rote learning we did. For that we got marks. Based on that marks, these people gave the 20 marks of sports, other 20 marks of other practicals. See, that itself is broken, right? Even though you have the overall sports and other things kept in your syllabus, but even after that they are not implementing. That is
Because
also
that
one
is
problem.
because that is not backed by a proper, if I would say, subordinate legislation or proper executive ruling. If the executive comes out with rules saying that if such and such process is carried out and proper audits take place from time to time, wherein people visit schools and make sure that people are encouraging sports, then only could maybe the schools could come up with such strictures for sporting. So I guess
Hmm.
that is already part of the NEP that is on the, if not, it's not on the annual anymore. They have passed it, right?
Yeah, they had.
So yeah,
Okay,
that
I'll
is what we
just
can
so,
be
so
hopeful about.
I'll throw some ideas here.
Mm-hmm.
I've jotted down a few ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Now we have many indigenous sports also like kites, marbles, even gilli danda,
Mm-hmm.
thumb wrestling, arm wrestling, lagori, kho. All these are dormant. They have got a lot of market value. People will watch them now. Especially we have live features on our. We can broadcast with our mobile, and
Yes.
people will sponsors will pay to put their banners up in the venue wherever this sport is. They'll pay money for that. If people are watching, people will pay to be noticed. Their visibility, to get visibility, people will pay. Then as Saurabh mentioned, nutrition, then like media expansion, we can make a product of these sports and telecast them. Licensing is important. Like if people won't come and put cameras and all, if you are forcing them to give license to DD, Doordarshan and all, because they are investing so much of money in renting out broadcasting equipment and all, they won't give you free rights, or they will, like how they delayed by 7 seconds or 30 seconds and then they'll give Doordarshan, something like that way. Then entire ecosystem has to develop, right from shoes to jerseys to hockey sticks to towels. Even NBA, Saurabh, no?
Yeah, yeah.
That NBA players during timeout, they are given towel and Gatorade or something, no? Even on that cup, no, that sponsorship is there, and on the towel also there is a sponsor. So the sponsor will go to such extent to get visibility. Then imagine during WWD, how much people are crazy for it. It's not even a sport. It's just entertainment. But people want to trade cards. They want costumes on WWE. We used to play the cards, no? Like you remember, no?
Yes, yes,
High
yes.
Clash
Grade
cards.
Clash.
Yes, yes.
If we have cards like that way for our sports, like cricket cards
So
or
basically, you're talking
badminton
about a
cards or
strong PR exercise, if I'm not wrong.
means like everything we have to attack this problem from every all
The
sides.
private, the
We have to
private
have
sector has to
fan
play.
forums.
The private sector has to
Personal
play a big
building.
role in this, I would say.
Like how these people are following English clubs like Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, and all. They should have domestic fan following. Like they should have a bar for Bangalore FC. Like they have a Chelsea bar, Arsenal bar. Now people have beer, watch the TV there, and meet everyone. So, and companies should hire ambassadors, sportsmen as ambassadors rather than. Now it's happening slowly. It's happening.
Yeah,
Then
IPL
imagine a
is
big
IPL
businessman.
is like what Narendra said. IPL is seen to have a domino effect on other sports, starting with kabaddi, and you have badminton leagues coming up. So if we can get more sports to come up with such leagues which have enough reach with the common people, especially the
Then
youth, then definitely this is a great idea.
And did you know that Rafael Nadal came to this our Anantapur? It's a district near Bangalore only.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 150 200 kilometers from Bangalore. He came there and he established his own academy.
Oh,
Lots of people won't even know that.
I had no idea
Yeah,
about
even
this.
I didn't know that.
He came. He used to come last 3 or 4 years ago. Also, he came, I think. So he has got his own academy. Even in Noida, he started one. And Michael Phelps also once came. When I was in Delhi itself, around 2019 May. I thought to go, but I couldn't. There is one hotel. I think I can't remember the particular hotel name. Just beside that, he has got his own academy.
I had no idea
And
about this.
think about this. Think about this, okay? Imagine a big businessman. Instead of buying a Rolls Royce, he can buy a local team now, like kabaddi team or a small district team.
Very
He doesn't
good.
have to buy a state team also. He'll get visibility also. He'll get his name on the jerseys. He'll get his people. If they win, it'll be as good as brand visibility for him. No, so people should think in that way. And imagine a country of 1 whatever billion people, and we are obsessed with our television and our YouTube and our mobiles, and visually we are very visually oriented. So if we see sports and if something is there to broadcast, this sports thing will take off. It is already starting to take off.
Yeah, and aesthetics. I don't know. People like so much aesthetics. Even if you see the movies, right? They just follow. So even if you show the sports in that aesthetical form, documentaries, whatever it is regarding sports, and some kind of movies. So yeah, this will help. All from all sides, we need to hit the button. So that will help.
When BBC did that documentary on Mary Kom, no, after that, Bollywood got interested and they made a movie. No?
Such a sad thing, man.
Yeah.
Always, we are somehow,
We don't recognize.
we are somehow
Yeah, so-
gotten used to, white man's recognition or white man's,
Yeah.
let's say. So it's a little sad to
Yeah.
say the least. But
You see
anyway,
the news, bro. I just want to tell, you see, on Twitter as well, people what they do is, the person they have mentioned on BBC, they'll see, okay, BBC mentioned this person. Who is this person? Let's talk about him. That is the shit. That is the shit
this
they
is a
do.
very
Actually,
sad
the
reality
whole
of
mainstream
India.
media.
Very sad reality
Yeah.
of India, particularly the subcontinent. So,
Yeah,
Okay,
even
now-
our journalists. Yeah.
Okay, now we will transition to what challenges we face as sportsmen and sportsmen. What challenges they face in their quest for glory? Like, let me throw some ideas there. Some pressure, pressure of performance pressure, public pressure. When you carry the expectations of so many fans, you are under pressure constantly, even at home. Like, imagine when your sport is telecast live, you have people and so many fans in the stadium and all. then you can't even say, like, for example, a wicket keeper can't even say something wrong in the stump. Mike will pick it up. He can't even abuse and all that. He can't even vent away his anger.
Well,
It'll
Rishabh Pant
like
seems to be an exception to that. He's been enjoying doing that for quite some time.
then demands of being a role model, public glare, you're always under the microscope. So nowadays, sports psychologists also are like indispensable to success. What have you?
Yeah, yeah. First, Saurabh.
Yeah, basically, if you always keep pushing for success, there will be some amount of expectation that will, translate into a performance pressure. But that has somehow got to do with the kind of upbringing that you have. If you compare Saurav Ganguly's team of the 2000s to Virat Kohli's team, again coming back to cricket because that is the only example I can think about as of now. There is, see, if you compare these two teams, there is a lot of difference in the kind of approach they have had. You see, the team that played under Saurav Ganguly was a team which had members who were from very humble backgrounds with very minimum exposures, and even the state of economy our country had back then kind of played a major role in creating and impacting the psyche of Indians in general, and Indian players as such were no exception either. But if you compare them to today's people and today's cricketers, the difference in the body language and the difference in the approach of the game, India as a cricket team was never known to sledge other teams. It was mostly known to be sledged. People sledged us regularly, and we were normally, okay with it because it was quite the norm. And not knowing the English language enough, not knowing English cuss words enough, only made it worse because we never had that amount of exposure back then. We didn't have access to such cheap internet that allows us to interact with the world and learn different things, and learn their ways and their cuss words including, and their how. So it also has played a great role, I would say, when I talk about the kind of upbringing you have as a player. So today's cricketers and today's children definitely have better opportunities and can, perform better thanks to their upbringing. See, what we have today as, people who are in their 20s and early 30s definitely have more than what our parents did, right? Because the kind of economy they grew in was an economy that was full of shortages. So when we were growing up in the late 90s or early 90s and early 2000s, we definitely were more privileged compared to our parents. So the generation that will come afterwards, after our generation, if I have to talk about my brother who is 17-year-old, he has had a great amount of exposure and is definitely more privileged than I was during my childhood, or maybe during when I was 17 years old. So this difference will definitely show up in their body language when they play sports. So I am assuming that the coming 20-30 years will definitely bring more amount of glory and accolades for India in international sports, thanks to the economic privileges these people will get, unlike what we never got, or unlike what our parents didn't get. So there will be a definite difference in approach towards playing sports in the minds of these people. But then definitely they have to be very motivated for such opportunities, or giving out their best, which will again have to do with the school curriculum or the basic societal norms and societal approval towards such activities, that is sports. So a lot of things depend on each other, but I am just hoping and being hopeful that things will definitely be better for the upcoming generations when it comes to sports, primarily thanks to the amount of exposure they have and the amount of economic privilege that they will get, which was not a case with the earlier generations. Do you agree with that?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes.
yeah. Yeah, and one thing I also want to tell, uh, before Julian was telling, right, ecosystem, the environment, whatever we are creating. For example, now you see, previously tennis used to be famous near Bengaluru belt because of Prakash Padukone and so on, right?
That is
Uh,
badminton.
yeah, badminton, sorry, badminton. It used to be. Now it came to Hyderabad suddenly. So, I mean, now Hyderabad, lots of people play badminton. It's like lots of academies are there like that. Similarly, tennis, it has got some centers in Tamil Nadu we have, and in our Hyderabad also we have, and then we have the chess, particularly in this Tamil Nadu. So, if we are creating some kind of environment, right, the area, okay, this is our person, he came from here, so we have to check about it. So that way also it creates some kind of push. So that is one thing. And also, before we were talking about, right, fans, Indian fans are something different compared to what we see in Western or some other countries. We are not that much mature enough to take a, what is that,
Loss.
losing a loss or a win. When we are winning, right, we just run like what is it, freaks, some kind of freaks. We are winning, okay, that is okay, cool, complete. That much. We take it to heart so much that it will run for at least 1 month that we won. And if we are losing, we'll be depressing for 1 month.
That has somehow got to
And
do with the
people,
media reporting as well.
Yeah.
yeah, whatever it is, but we take so seriously that we
No, but
directly kill them sometimes.
but that's not unique to India. Even in Brazil, people are fanatic, and even football hooliganism in Europe also
Yes,
is there.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
People are,
I heard that. Yeah, I heard that. There is one in Colombia. They killed it since that one football player just because he is self-called. If I am football player, I'm dead. So he created his own goal. For that reason, they killed mafia people. What the fuck is that?
yeah.
Sorry. I'm using cuss words.
You
Sorry.
remember 2007 debacle, right? World Cup. Again, coming back to cricket. So when they came
Yeah.
back after losing to Bangladesh, they were like pelting stones on
Dhoni
the houses
house.
of Dhoni.
Yeah,
And
Dhoni, Mohammad Kaif.
so it was very sad. But that is okay. That is somehow, you're passionate towards sports, which is
I
normally
don't think
cricket
such
in this
people are
country.
true sports fans. They don't understand the sport. They just watch it for I think getting high or something like that way.
Yeah.
It's like a fix for them.
Forget about that thing. If we lose against Pakistan, that's it. It is apocalypse in India.
But now,
It's like dead.
A true sports fan will appreciate even an opposition player who plays the game well. No?
well, that happened. Well, that
absolutely.
happened. Did we do that? During the Champions Trophy of 2017. Again, when
Yeah.
Pakistan beat India, we actually were happy for them, and Indians congratulated them that they played good cricket. And personally, to me, Mohammad Amir has been a favorite cricketer for quite some time now. He's like, it's a sad thing that he's thinking upon giving up his citizenship and joining UK as a citizen of UK, which will eventually pave a way
Yeah.
for him to play for IPL. So that is the exciting part of it. But then, yeah, it's okay. I would say at times to take your sports to heart and
Who's this? Who's giving up his citizenship?
thinking
Mohammad
Mohammad
Amir.
Amir. There is this left arm pacer of Pakistan who's
The fixing previously.
Yeah, he was very young when he got involved in spot fixing. He was 17,
Yeah.
I guess. So he was banned for 4 years. Then he came back and had a very good, exceptional comeback and played very good against India as well. Had a great role, big role in helping them win the Champions Trophy in 2017. So that's a sad thing for them, but then it's a good thing for us if he gets to play for IPL. I would love to see him playing for Chennai maybe.
I started watching football Indian games as well. We played with Kazakhstan, I think, last time. Last time when I watched, and we lost very badly with Kazakhstan as well. So I mean, still we are winning with some other teams. Now our rank is improved, right? Below 100, is it?
I don't know. I my TV. I've stopped watching TV.
Okay. Otherwise, I used to watch some club. At the time, I used to watch Bayern Munich's games and so on. That's it.
It's funny how none of you have mentioned F1 sports, though it's not got anything to do with India. It's a
Are
rich man's sport, but then
Oh,
it's
that was I just
Formula
forgot
One?
about it.
Yeah. Formula One, though, I
Oh,
even watch
oh,
now.
R&D. It can people they race Formula One cars for R&D only, and imagine how much of advertising they get from that.
Yeah. But
This is
the sport as what we see on racing track, it is something. I mean, it's not like competitive one because the R&D itself is competitive there itself. There, Mercedes is winning very properly. Uh, other cars, the only car which is exceptional other than a Mercedes is Red Bull. So otherwise it is boring one. Only sometimes we see some kind of a good exceptions. Like last time we saw the Monaco one. I watched it. That one I watched it. So I am good fan of this F1 and swimming and so on. These kind of basic.
I am very
So
biased
what do
towards
you like?
cricket.
What do
what
you watch other sports? Like you can talk about that as well. What do you watch or what are you
I
interested in?
I am interested in football and basketball.
Hmm.
I, and whenever Olympics is there, I watch almost means whatever I can.
Yeah, even I
And
watch Olympics most of them. The only exception where India did good was the Commonwealth Games. We were talking about Olympics, but we missed out on Commonwealth Games. The Commonwealth Games that were held in India in 2010, India eventually ended up at second or third rank, if I'm not wrong. And England came third. India was second after Australia, and England came third. We were able to win more medals than England did. Maybe it had
Just
somehow
be,
to do with the
just
fact that
because
they
we don't
created in
have other
India.
countries.
No, you
Australia is the
had
first one. Yeah.
Australia, you also had England, right? And you had a lot of other colonies, former colonies of the British that played in the
Yeah.
Commonwealth Games.
Y-
But then it was a good thing, I would say, and I was expecting that it would somehow reflect in the 2012 London Olympics, but nothing happened, till date.
We got
Uh,
one gold medal, I
Abhinav
think.
Bindra remains the only guy.
Abhinav Bindra.
That
That's it.
was Beijing 2008, or was it London?
That is 2000. Yeah. That is 2008.
He remains the only guy, individual person to win a gold medal for India. I was
2012.
expecting a
No one
gold
won
medal in
award.
last during the last Olympics as well from Mary Kom, but unfortunately
I think
that never
Abhinav
happened as
Bindra
well.
got it in 2008 or 2000.
I was
Eight.
expecting a gold medal
2008.
from PV Sindhu
There is
and Mary
Narang,
Kom.
right? Gagan Narang. He won in 2016, I think.
Could be bronze or
No,
silver.
2012. 2012. 2012. It's Gagan Narang. He won something. I can't remember. PV Sindhu.
16.
Sorry.
2016,
2016. Yeah.
she
Sorry.
lost to this Spanish player. I don't remember the name of in the finals. She won a silver
Yeah.
medal. It was a very
Marina
heartbreaking.
something. Marina
Marina,
something.
yeah. It was a very heartbreaking game for me personally. I was betting big on
I was
PV
also
Sindhu's
watching.
win because she had done exceedingly well throughout the tournament. She was obviously second seeded and she was playing a top seed player in the finals. But then I somehow was wishing that she would end up winning the gold medal for us. But nevertheless, I'm looking forward to the upcoming Tokyo Olympics, which are scheduled to happen in July if things go well. And they are not planning
What?
on cancelling it either. Tokyo Olympics.
What? What about Beijing का कुछ Olympics
That is
था ना
Winter Olympics.
previously?
US.
Winter one.
Yeah, Nancy Pelosi, the speaker of their Senate, if I'm not wrong, spoke about cancelling US participation in the Winter Olympics because it is happening in China. Let's see what happens. That definitely China and US are headed for a complete full-fledged Cold War 2.0 with a possible flashpoint in Taiwan. So let's not deviate from our
I
topic.
basically hate both of them.
So so let's maybe we should conclude on whatever we were talking about. I guess Julian has got something to
Yeah,
say.
Yeah.
We can conclude. So we on the thought that we should all do our we should encourage our own domestic sports in our own district. We should go and watch the games when they are there, and we should support our heroes. We need not support teams all the way in England like Chelsea and Arsenal and Liverpool and all those. We should have our own, and even in our own teams have mediocre performance, we should think about 20 years, 30 years ahead what will happen, and we should start building the structure from now on only.
And one thing I want to tell, national games, people don't even know that there exist national games in India.
Yeah, that's what. And
So
people should be wearing the Ranji Trophy jerseys in their when they go out. They only want to wear some other person's Chelsea and Liverpool jersey. They should wear Ranji Trophy jersey.
yeah,
Cricket, yeah.
not only cricket, I'm talking. Other sports, we need to glorify not glorify, I would say, that is not correct word, but we need to hype it. We need to show it on national media everywhere that, okay, this is a sport, if you are winning, that kind of competitiveness, and people also will be like, their eyes on that particular sport, checking it out. So these kind of things have to be there. Yeah, that is completed. And last, anyone?
Saurabh,
If I have to say about
concluding
remarks, I would say sports enthusiasts or sports people somehow start taking interest in sports as a kid when they are going through their formative years, and if somehow the local schooling authorities or their parents are more open about their kids getting into sports, and if this happens through formal rules that are formed by the state governments, because education at the end of the day is a state subject, so that would somehow play a big role, as in when these kids grow up, maybe like after 15 years or 20 years, a lot of them could eventually end up playing different sports for India. So I would like to add this point, basically nothing else from that.
Okay, on behalf of us, I would like to thank Saurabh. On behalf of podcast, I would like to thank Saurabh and Narendra for joining me today to discuss about subcontinental sport. And a very thank you, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you wherever you are. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, and see you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. We'll come with another podcast.
Okay, then I'll pause the recording. It's been 1 hour 36 minutes, and I'll share it with you guys on this group. Okay?
Yeah, I just want to listen my voice. I didn't even listen
been a
it.
great experience. This is the first time I've ever done such kind of a thing. We can, eventually do such activities in future by, going through a specific topic, making notes of keywords, and then coming.
Yeah. It should be more
Okay, listen,
systematic.
1 minute, Saurabh. You stop the chat. I won't edit it. I'll directly put it up like this way only. It was quite good. So you